Holly O'Neill, President of Consumer Banking at Bank of America. Today's conversation is about what it really takes to grow a resilient, customer-first business in our fast-changing world. I'm thrilled to be joined by Sarah Tam, Chief Merchant Officer of Rent the Runway. She joined Rent the Runway in 2015 as a Senior Vice President of Merchandising after 19 years at Saks Fifth Avenue. She began her role as Chief Merchant Officer in 2017 and transformed the fashion industry by helping pioneer a subscription-based model that gives consumers access to high-end fashion without the burden of ownership. Rent the Runway didn't just change how people dressed, it helped redefine the modern consumer mindset around access, flexibility, value, and sustainability. Sarah, thanks so much for being here. It's so good to see you. And I'm still reeling from our Devil Wears Prada event as we launched Bank of America Rewards.
That event was so fun, and the movie was hysterical.
It was a really fun event, so we were so happy to have you and the Rent the Runway team there. I know our clients loved it.
Thanks so much for having me. And by the way, Holly, I love this jacket you're wearing.
Well, thank you. I actually got it from Rent the Runway as part of our B of A Rewards program. Okay, Sarah, so let's start with some background on Rent the Runway.
Yeah.
So for those who do not know, tell us a little bit more about Rent the Runway and how it works.
So Rent the Runway was built on a very powerful premise that every woman deserved to feel her most confident for every moment in her life, whether it was going to the office, going to a wedding, or just having brunch with her friends. And Rent the Runway is a platform that allows a woman to do all of it. Here's how it works. We give women access to thousands of styles, over hundreds of designers, without this friction of thinking you have to buy it all. And what it allows customers to do is just explore, discover, rent, and try. And she could borrow something for one occasion, or she could have a monthly subscription where she can borrow items, multiple items a month. And what it allows her to do, it allows her to have access to a rotating designer closet. It gives her confidence. It allows her flexibility. It allows her to spend more intelligently, and we take care of the rest.
And I love the confidence part because it does make a difference. When you feel good and you look good, it does give you a sense of confidence. So I love that aspect of it. So Sarah, you joined Rent the Runway in 2015 after 2 decades in traditional luxury retail. Mm-hmm. So what drew you to the company 10 years ago? What opportunity did you see in the model? And how did you make that switch? Because that was a pretty big pivot.
It was. I mean, after nearly 2 decades in luxury retail, I really was entrenched in that model. I knew it deeply. I was so invested in the brands, the beauty of it, the craft, and it was all built around ownership. And, it worked for a long time. A customer would come in, they'd fall in love with the brand, and they'd buy an item. But the consumer mind shift changed. And all of a sudden, there was a need for variety. And social media exacerbated that need for variety. And a woman couldn't buy all the variety that she needed. And when you think about the younger generation, they post their whole entire life on their social feeds. So their outfits are photographed and posted for thousands to view. And once that item is posted, it's listed, it's documented, it's done. So then came the rise of fast fashion. It gave her the variety, but it came at a cost. Landfills were filled with items that she only wore once or twice. Consumers were believing fashion was disposable, and brands got knocked off. And there was just something wrong with that whole model. And I remember during that whole time when I was thinking about it, I met the CEO and founder of Rent the Runway. And she told me about this concept of transforming a way a woman gets dressed. And I wanted to build it with her. So then today, a woman can have variety, but wear real designers. Designers can have women fall in love with their product and wear it and discover it. And it's better for the environment. And for all those reasons, it drew me to Rent the Runway.
Yeah, so it really did transform how women, young and old, can experience fashion.
Absolutely.
It really did. So Rent the Runway allows people to enjoy the high-end fashion without the commitment. So why do you think that idea resonated with consumers, especially young adults? Because we know that Gen Z loves secondhand shopping and they like the sustainability aspect, which you mentioned. So why else do you think it resonated?
To really understand why Rent the Runway resonated so well with young adults, we kind of have to get into the mindset of these young adults. And this generation grew up with access as a default. They have a totally different relationship with ownership than the generations before. When you think about this generation, they have never bought a CD. They open Spotify. They have never bought a DVD. They use Netflix. They're not saving up for a vacation home. They're going to use Airbnb. And this disruption was happening across all industries. And fashion was ripe for disruption. And when you really think about it, owning a whole closet full of clothes is like inefficient. What she wants is she wants the experience of walking in the room, feeling confident and feeling her best. And that experience, it doesn't matter if it's rented or owned. You know, it's like she wants to feel wonderful, she wants to feel confident, and we're giving that to her. So the reason why Rent the Runway resonated so well is because we met her where she was going, and this ownership to access was happening all around her. And we just brought it to fashion.
Yeah, and you said a key word, which I've heard a lot from Gen Zs, which is experience.
Exactly.
They want the experience,
100%.
and you're giving them the ability to do that. So it's really important for consumer brands, from fashion to financial services, to meet consumers where they are. And you just explained, you know, why consumers are where they are and why Rent the Runway resonated. So insights from our Bank of America Institute show that the Gen Zs aren't pulling back on fashion. They're just approaching it differently, which you shared, from deal seeking to resale. So in your experience, what are today's consumers looking for in a brand, and how is that shift, particularly among Gen Z, reshaping your strategy? So how have you reshaped your strategy since you joined?
I mean, Gen Z is one of the most important consumer groups. When you think about it, they are gaining spending power, and they are literally changing the expectations consumers want from brands. Like, people often say that Gen Z wants authenticity. I think that Gen Z wants credibility. They want a company that will do what they say they will do. So for example, if you're going to claim you're sustainable, well, it better show up in your model. And if you're going to claim you're inclusive, it better show up in your sizing, your models, your photography, and, you know, in your workforce. So like, it's not that this generation is skeptical. They are a little skeptical, but they're research fluent, and they can spot the gaps, and they're not afraid to call companies out on it.
No, they are not. Definitely not.
And they want to feel like participants. They want a dialogue with the company. They don't want to just be told what they should want, you know? So at Rent the Runway, we have built in ways where we can elicit her feedback, you know? And we also have put in engagement metrics where we can see what she downvotes, what she upvotes, what she hearts, what she wants in back in stock notifications. And all of these signals are shaping the experience that she's expecting and helping us deliver the mission of giving her access, flexibility, and value to an experience that is worth her coming back to.
Right. Very interesting and very current. You use a lot of your data. So as an almost all online company, I know how popular your sample sales can be.
Yes.
How do you and your team stay in touch with what your customers are thinking and feeling? Because obviously you have access to a lot of data.
You know, it's a really great question because we are truly digital, there's no dressing room conversations or sales associates on the floor. There's just less physical, I guess, interactions. But I can firmly say, working in luxury retail and working at Rent the Runway, we know so much more about our customer. When you think about traditional retail, a customer comes in, she buys a dress, we know she bought the dress. She may return the dress. We may know why she returned the dress. But everything in between is like a black box. You don't know if it photographed well. You don't know if it made her feel the most confident. You don't even know if it fit perfectly. But at Rent the Runway, we kind of take every interaction as a signal. So we're not only looking at what she rented, we're seeing what did she search? What did she heart? What is she reaching back for? We are literally taking all of these pieces of information, what she's upvoting, what she's downvoting, what she wants more of, and it is giving us a real-time view into her life. So we know her preferences, we know her size, we know her aesthetic, and then we know if it's changing and we adjust to her in real time. And I think that's what is so important about data. And not only do we have that data itself, but we have these customer reviews. Every item has so many reviews. So there's millions of customer reviews on our site, and they are robust, they're detailed, and she is honest. So in these reviews, she is talking about how the fabric felt, if it ran big, if it ran small, where it ran small, if it ran small in the bust, and all of this data is helping the community, pick the right items,
Right.
but it's also being funneled back to the designer to ensure that the designer is making clothes that are relevant to her. So for us to stay close to the customer, it's not just about a focus group or guessing, it's really about real-time data from real customers, and we are using it all to make her experience better.
It's very interesting, and the data will give you so much insight. Have you ever calculated how many pieces of data you capture on an annual basis? It has to be in the hundreds of millions.
Yes, millions and millions. When you think about it, like one item is tagged with almost 100 attributes, right? And then
100 per item.
per item, and we have thousands and thousands of items that go through the system. So we have robust data.
And multiply that by the number of clients and people you have searching your site. So that's a lot of data.
Exactly.
Excellent. So Bank of America is teaming up with Rent the Runway to give a subscription discount to our B of A Rewards members, our new loyalty program. So I'm curious, how does Rent the Runway think about fostering relationships with clients and rewarding loyalty? And why do you think that's important?
I just want to start off saying that I'm really excited to be partnering with Bank of America because we share a belief that loyalty should make customers feel valued and recognized. And when I think about loyalty at Rent the Runway, it's about making members feel more like insiders than just customers. The idea is that the more connected you are to Rent the Runway, the more inspiration, the more access, and the more community you should feel. And that can mean showing up in access to new inventory, styling experiences, events in your own city. It could be feedback on what's coming in the next season. But really what we want to do is have our most loyal customers not just rent from us, but actually shape the experience on our site. And that's really important because the more we listen to her, the more we can create an experience that's relevant, that's personal, and that is worth for her to come back to.
That's great. That's great. So let's look at the future for a minute, Sarah. What trends do you see that will drive the next decade of consumer growth? And from where you sit, what signals should leaders be paying the closest attention to right now?
Okay, I think the single biggest trend that's going to shape consumer growth over the next decade is going to be, it's like the end of the generic experience. Like the user experience will need to feel intuitive, personal, and almost like anticipatory. The next generation, they have grown up really being conditioned by personalized experiences. Like, let's think about the world she lives in now. Her social feed, it is algorithmically shaped by her interests, by what she likes, and by her aesthetic. And the music knows what she's going to listen to next before she even knows. I mean, those playlists are spot on.
Right.
And when you think about her streaming service, it is curating her next watch list with all the TVs and the shows perfectly. So, I mean, when you think about all of this, she essentially has never had to scroll endlessly to things that aren't relevant to her. Okay, think about a company that is not going to personalize their experience. She's going to come onto an app, she's going to open it, and she's going to get to serve the same homepage as everyone else, and that's going to feel like a disconnect to her. So personalization is no longer like a feature, it's an expectation. So this is going to be especially true in fashion because fashion's personal. People use fashion to indicate where they want to go, how they feel, how they want to show up in the world. And it's really important that we make that experience easy for her. And it's not just a catalog of endless scrolling. And, you know, I think it's the brands that are going to win are the brands that really understand how to make this customer feel more like an individual versus a transaction.
And being personalized. So personalization is your most important trend going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there is nothing more personal than how you look and how you
100%.
feel.
What companies have to do is they have to create those signals from customers to understand how they're feeling. Like for us, it was about really creating these like hearting features, the downvoting, the upvoting, really kind of understanding the signals of demand and then taking those demands and feeding it into our experience.
That's great. So for somebody who is listening and wants to build stronger customer relationships, no matter what their industry, what's the one mindset shift that you think makes the biggest difference? And it can be anything.
Okay. The biggest mindset shift is moving from selling to serving. And it really starts with understanding the role the company is playing in her life and the value it provides. So customers can really feel the difference when a company is trying to sell them something and a company who's trying to make their life easier. So for example, at Rent the Runway, it's not about the item she rents, it's about where that item is going. So is that dress going to a wedding? Is it going to a work event? Is it going on vacation? Because the value we're bringing her is not just the item, it's her confidence, the support, her feeling prepared. And so if she's gonna rent that dress for a high stakes wedding occasion, we're gonna give her a backup size. And if she wants a blazer for a work presentation, her carousel is going to be personalized with tailored and neutrals because that's what gives her confidence, not boxy and colored, you know? So when you are clear about the role that you play in your customer's life, the value proposition becomes greater than the product itself. And that's when a brand truly shifts from selling to serving.
I like that. That's very easy to remember. Selling to serving, and that will create a long-lasting relationship.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we end, we're just going to switch gears, and I typically end with some rapid-fire questions. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So closet staple you cannot live without.
Okay, it will have to be a perfectly fitting jean because you're always reaching for it. And you could dress it up or you can dress it down.
Absolutely. Favorite fashion icon?
Okay, this one's hard. I have two.
Okay, we'll permit you two.
Okay. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy for her timeless minimalism, and Zendaya for her bold choices.
That's a barbell. That is definitely a barbell, but I love it. Okay, so best impulse purchase you've ever made?
Okay, I was in Paris and I went to a vintage store and I fell in love with this oversized Alaya coat. I impulsively bought it, but I've been living in it all winter.
Very cool. Okay, something other than clothes you wish you could rent?
I would have to say it would be art. I would love to rotate art throughout my home, like people rotate fashion in their closet.
That's a great business idea. I love that.
have to make that come to life.
Yes, that's right. That's right. In your next phase, in your next phase. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. We love the partnership with Run the Runway. And what really stood out to me was how deeply you connect creativity, discipline, and consumer trust. Your experience is a reminder that putting the customer first while staying focused on the fundamentals creates lasting value. So whether it's fashion, banking, or any consumer business, those principles matter. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to all of you for watching.